The massive alien ship hovered silently above the jagged mountains of Nova Prime. Its surface shimmered like black glass, reflecting the twin suns in fractured, molten shards. Inside, the throne room of the alien Queen Velithra was dark, but alive with the pulse of glowing veins that ran along the walls. From her elevated platform, Velithra observed the humans below, her multiple eyes narrowing as she tried to make sense of their behavior. Her species had been watching the young human colonies for decades, cataloging their movements, assessing their strength, and preparing strategies for eventual contact. But what she saw today challenged everything she believed. Below, on the planet's rugged surface, a storm of activity raged. Humans moved with a strange energy that was neither fear nor caution, but a kind of reckless determination. Soldiers in armored suits marched in formation, their weapons glinting in the sun, while engineers carried bulky machines that hissed, spat smoke, and vibrated with power. Between them, strange carts rolled over rocky terrain, carrying nets, poles, and equipment that Velithra could not immediately identify. Her scouts had reported the presence of a massive predator on the planet. It was a creature unlike anything she had encountered in her travels. Towering over the largest human, with thick scales that shimmered like liquid metal and claws that could split the strongest stone, it was a living nightmare. Its jaws could crush armored vehicles, and its tail, long and whip-like, could sever trees in a single strike. Even her warriors, some of the most feared hunters in the quadrant, had recoiled at the reports. She expected to see panic, chaos, and the inevitable demise of these fragile beings. Instead, she saw organization. Velithra's antennas twitched nervously. The humans had created a perimeter around the beast's territory. They moved carefully, but there was no fear in their eyes, only focus. The queen watched as one human crouched behind a rock and lifted a device that hummed with energy, pointing it toward the dense jungle where the creature had been spotted. A faint glow pulsed from the machine, and then another human triggered a small explosion. The predator roared in anger and confusion, its massive form crashing through the trees, leaving destruction in its wake. And then the impossible happened. Rather than fleeing or panicking, the humans laughed. Their voices carried through the valleys like a strange melody to Velithra's ears. They were not afraid. They were celebrating. The queen's mandibles clicked in confusion. What kind of creatures took joy in confronting a being that could kill them instantly? One human, taller than the rest and carrying a long spear-like weapon, stepped forward. He studied the predator carefully, calculating its path, anticipating its moves. Others followed his lead, coordinating their positions with gestures and calls. They set up a series of traps, weighted nets, spiked barriers, and electrified coils. With meticulous care, they guided the predator toward their prepared area. Velithra felt a shiver of disbelief. These humans were not merely surviving. They were strategizing, adapting, and exploiting weaknesses that even her species, finest hunters, might miss. The queen leaned closer to her observation deck, her many eyes focusing on the scene below. The predator lunged, claws slashing at anything in its path. It tore through one of the nets with ease, snapping it like twine, but the humans had anticipated this. Another set of nets dropped from above, tangling the beast in mid-motion. Sparks flew as the creature struggled, thrashing its tail violently, yet the humans maintained their positions. One approached with a small device and attached it to the predator's shoulder. A faint hum pulsed from the machine, and the beast's movement slowed, as if a mysterious force restrained it. Velithra's mind raced. She had seen the capture of dangerous creatures before, but never with such precision, such courage, and such calmness under threat. Her advisors whispered anxiously beside her. "They cannot control such a creature, it will kill them all," one of them hissed, antennae quivering. The queen's mandibles clicked sharply. "Observe," she commanded. "Do not interrupt, watch what these humans do." Another human approached the restrained predator. She did not carry a weapon meant to kill. Instead, she held a strange tool, shiny and flat, which she ran along the creature's scales. The predator roared, thrashing its tail, but the human stood firm, pressing the device against its hide, measuring, reading, analyzing. Velithra's eyes widened. They were not only capturing the creature, they were studying it, understanding it, preparing it. And then she saw it. The humans, one after another, picked up tools, knives, and instruments of metal, not in panic, but in a rhythm as if they were preparing a meal rather than defending themselves. A flicker of horror passed through Velithra's mind. This was impossible. No sentient species she had studied treated their deadliest predators in such a manner. In her species, such creatures were feared, worshipped, or destroyed, but never approached with such audacity, such casual control. These humans, they did not fear death. They respected it, challenged it, and consumed it. Below, the predator struggled in the nets, muscles bulging, eyes glowing with fury. Yet the humans worked with a strange calm. They coordinated, guiding it into position, restraining it further, and finally, with a collective effort, they subdued it. The beast roared one last time and then lay still, restrained and defeated. The humans cheered. Their laughter and shouts echoed across the mountains. They celebrated with hands raised, slapping each other's backs, and exchanging words that Velithra could not comprehend. The queen felt a cold wave of realization wash over her. These fragile creatures had achieved what her best warriors had feared to attempt. They had conquered a predator meant to inspire terror, and they did so not with brute strength alone, but with courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Velithra turned her gaze to the skies beyond the colony. Other species would never believe this if they saw it. The humans were small, fragile, even fragile to the touch, yet they wielded strategy and courage in a way that defied the natural order. She felt a flicker of fear. Not of individual humans, they could be destroyed with the right weapon, but of humanity itself. The species as a whole, united by audacity, creativity, and sheer determination, could not be predicted, controlled, or easily defeated. The queen's thoughts were interrupted as the humans began moving around the restrained beast. They did not act like predators confronting danger. They acted like chefs preparing a feast, slicing carefully, measuring portions, and even marking sections for inspection. Velithra's antennas twitched violently. This was sacrilege in the eyes of her people. A creature of such strength, such terror, reduced to food, and yet she could not deny the humans' efficiency, their confidence, or their courage. One human knelt by the creature's massive head, placing a hand gently against its scales. Another approached with a small metal instrument and pressed it to the beast's snout. Velithra could see the predator's eyes, still filled with fury, yet something in the human's actions seemed to calm it, if only slightly. They did not fight it out of malice, they respected it. They had conquered it, yes, but they did so with care, precision, and intelligence. Velithra's mind spun. Her empire had dominated countless worlds, subjugated species stronger than humans, and survived predators that could shred ships in moments. Yet here, a species so fragile, so seemingly insignificant, had demonstrated mastery over a creature designed to be untouchable. The queen felt the first true tremor of fear in her long life, not the fear of death, but the fear of what humanity could become. The humans continued their preparations, moving with purpose, laughter and chatter filling the air. Velithra's advisors whispered uneasily beside her. "This is madness. They will provoke the creature and it will rise again. They will die." But the queen shook her head. "No," she said, her voice low and reverberating. "They are not mad. They are something else entirely, something we have never seen. Observe closely. Learn. If this is what humans are at their best, we must understand them before the galaxy does." As the twin suns dipped below the jagged horizon, the humans finished their preparations. They had conquered the predator, controlled it, and transformed it into something they could use. Velithra watched in silence, a growing mixture of awe and unease filling her. She knew that this day would be remembered in her species' history, not as a day humans triumphed, but as a day they revealed their true nature, fearless, clever, and unstoppable in ways she had yet to comprehend. The queen rose from her throne, signaling her advisors to record every detail, every movement. "Prepare the reports," she commanded. "The galaxy must be warned. Humanity is no longer a species to observe from afar. They are a force in their own right." Her eyes lingered on the humans one last time. They laughed, celebrated, and organized, turning terror into triumph with smiles on their faces. Velithra felt a cold chill of realization. The humans had done more than survive. They had rewritten the rules of engagement. And somewhere deep in her mind, she understood a simple, terrifying truth. These humans were not just clever or brave. They were extraordinary. The human colony on Nova Prime woke early, long before the twin suns had fully risen. The air was crisp, tinged with the smell of smoke and scorched earth from the previous day's hunt. Soldiers adjusted their armor, engineers checked their equipment, and scouts scanned the horizon with sharp eyes. Even after capturing the planet's deadliest predator, humans did not rest. Their minds were always moving, always planning, always preparing. Velithra watched again from her hovering vessel. She could not tear her gaze from the human's activity. To her, it seemed almost ritualistic. She had expected exhaustion, fear, or at least caution after confronting a beast capable of tearing a city apart. Yet the humans were energized. They moved as if the predator had been nothing more than a puzzle, a challenge to test their skill and intelligence. Below, a group of humans carried the restrained predator into a wide clearing. They had covered the ground with strange devices that hummed and sparked. Each device had a purpose, precise and calculated, designed to monitor the beast's movements, measure its strength, and anticipate its reactions. The humans did not treat the creature like a monster. They treated it like a problem to solve. Velithra's multiple eyes widened in disbelief. She had never seen such audacity. A tall human with dark hair and sharp features approached the beast's side. He examined its scales with a handheld device, tapping, measuring, and occasionally glancing at charts he carried. Another human knelt at the predator's head, whispering in a language that seemed gentle, almost soothing. Velithra felt her antennas twitch. They calmed the beast, she thought, shocked. Her species would have killed such a creature immediately, or perhaps left it free to maintain the illusion of fear and dominance. But these humans, they tamed it without losing a single life. Velithra's advisors murmured uneasily beside her. They are reckless. No creature of that size can be controlled without suffering casualties. The queen's mandibles clicked sharply. Reckless? No, watch carefully. They are learning. Every movement, every response is calculated. This is how humans survive and thrive. Not through brute force, but through understanding, adaptation, and courage. The humans began a ritualistic process that Velithra had never seen before. Some moved around the predator, examining its muscles, its claws, and its teeth. Others prepared tools, knives, and devices that emitted soft pulses of energy. One human climbed atop the creature's back, holding a strange harness and adjusting it with precise movements. The predator roared, thrashing violently, but the human did not falter. The others coordinated, holding nets and pulsing rods in place to prevent injury, their teamwork flawless. Velithra's eyes tracked every action. Her species relied on overwhelming power, on sheer domination to control dangerous creatures. Humans relied on something far more dangerous: their mind, their ingenuity, and their refusal to be intimidated. The predator struggled, its massive body straining against the restraints. Yet the humans worked as one, moving with confidence, sharing signals and gestures that seemed almost instinctive. One human pressed a device against the predator's tail, emitting a low hum. The creature froze mid-swing, unable to move, confused by the strange energy that coursed through its nerves. Another human approached its jaws with a protective shield, observing its teeth and measuring the force it could exert. Velithra's antennas twitched rapidly. She felt a mixture of horror and admiration. No human had the strength to overpower the predator physically, yet they controlled it with perfect precision. It was not luck, nor was it fearlessness alone. It was planning, teamwork, and audacity combined into something lethal. Then came the part that truly unsettled the queen. One human picked up a large, sharp tool and moved to the creature's flank. Another followed, carrying containers that seemed to hold ingredients of some kind. Velithra's eyes narrowed in disbelief. These fragile beings were preparing to process the predator as food. The predator roared, shaking violently, yet the humans did not retreat. They worked in harmony, some keeping the beast restrained while others applied techniques to subdue and prepare it. Velithra's advisors whispered among themselves. This is madness. They treat the deadliest predator as if it were livestock. It will turn on them and they will die. The queen shook her head. No, she said, her voice low and deliberate. They are showing us what humans are capable of when they refuse to submit to fear. Observe, they are not foolish, they are extraordinary. As the day progressed, the humans continued their work. They moved with precision, alternating between moments of careful observation and bursts of activity. They cut, measured, and marked the creature's massive body. They checked each limb, each claw, each scale. Every action was calculated, rehearsed, and deliberate. Even when the predator thrashed, snapping nets and growling, they adapted instantly, adjusting their positions, changing their approach, and maintaining control. Velithra found herself leaning closer to the observation panel, unable to look away. Her species had encountered countless intelligent beings across the galaxy, but none had exhibited such control over their environment, over life itself, in the face of a threat so great. These humans were not merely brave, they were brilliant, creative, and utterly fearless. The predator let out a final roar as it realized it could not escape. It thrashed, attempted to bite, and swung its tail, but the humans were always one step ahead. With synchronized movements, they moved in, securing the creature with straps, pulsing rods, and nets. They guided it into a central area, where a low platform had been prepared. The humans worked quickly, efficiently, and with an odd kind of joy that Velithra could not understand. One human knelt beside the creature's head, speaking softly in tones meant to calm it. Another placed tools around the platform, measuring distances, angles, and weights. Velithra's eyes narrowed in focus. She could see the human's plan unfolding with a clarity that was almost terrifying. This was not merely survival. This was mastery. The humans began to divide the predator into sections, not with haste, but with precision. Each cut was deliberate, each movement calculated to avoid unnecessary damage or injury. They worked together, communicating with gestures, calls, and small devices that beeped and hummed. The predator's struggle slowed, its energy waning under the humans' relentless control. Velithra's antennas twitched as she realized the implications. These humans could not be measured by strength alone. Their intelligence, coordination, and ingenuity made them unpredictable. Any predator, any challenge, any enemy, humanity could conquer it not through sheer force but through planning, adaptation, and courage. As the day wore on, the humans finished their work. The predator lay subdued, its body no longer a threat. Humans celebrated, exchanging high fives, laughter, and words that seemed to carry pride and triumph. Velithra watched, stunned. She had never seen such confidence, such unity, and such complete control over a force that should have been beyond their reach. The queen's mind raced. Her empire had dominated countless worlds, defeated countless predators, and commanded entire fleets of warriors. Yet these humans, fragile, small, and seemingly insignificant, had achieved something no one expected. They had faced terror and death head-on and had turned it into triumph, skill, and even sustenance. Her advisors whispered nervously beside her. "They are reckless. No species should approach a predator like this without fear. They will pay for it." Velithra's mandibles clicked sharply. "No, they pay with nothing but intelligence, courage, and audacity, and that is their true strength. Mark it carefully. Humanity is not like other species. Do not underestimate them. They are unpredictable, unstoppable in ways we cannot yet comprehend." As the twin suns began to set, casting long shadows over the human colony, the humans continued their work. They cleaned, prepared, and organized, turning a moment of terror into a structured, controlled event. Velithra realized, with a mixture of fear and admiration, that these humans were not only survivors, they were masters of their own fate. The queen's thoughts returned to the predator. She had seen countless creatures that struck fear into entire worlds, yet this predator had been subdued by humans with precision, creativity, and courage. They had conquered it not with weapons of mass destruction, but with knowledge, coordination, and sheer willpower. Velithra felt a strange sense of awe. Humanity was unlike any species she had encountered. They were fragile, yes, but their minds and hearts were forged in a way that defied logic. They could face death and turn it into opportunity. They could face terror and turn it into triumph. And somewhere deep in her mind, she realized a terrifying truth. Humanity was not merely another species in the galaxy. They were a force to be reckoned with. As darkness fell over Nova Prime, the humans gathered around a central fire. They shared stories of the day's events, laughed, and celebrated their achievement. Even in victory, they remained humble, organized, and ready for what came next. Velithra watched in silence, her antennas twitching in reflection. This was only the beginning. The humans had shown their true nature in the face of the deadliest predator on Nova Prime. And Velithra knew that whatever the galaxy might throw at them next, humanity would face it with the same courage, ingenuity, and indomitable spirit. She rose from her observation platform, signaling her advisors. "Prepare the reports," she commanded. "The galaxy must understand what humans are capable of. Underestimate them at your peril. This species is extraordinary." For the first time, Velithra understood that the humans' strength was not in their size, their weapons, or their numbers. Their strength was in their spirit. in their creativity, in their ability to face the impossible and turn it into triumph. And in that realization, she felt a mix of fear, respect, and fascination. The humans of Nova Prime had faced terror and had not only survived, they had conquered it. And in doing so, they had declared without words that no predator, no threat, no force in the galaxy could intimidate them. Velithra's eyes lingered on the colony, taking in the organized chaos of preparation, celebration, and careful planning. The humans were small, fragile, and yet unstoppable in ways she could not yet fully grasp. She knew that when the galaxy saw what she had seen, there would be no doubt. Humanity was not a species to fear lightly. They were a force unlike any other. The galaxy was not prepared for what happened on Nova Prime. News of the humans' conquest of the planet's deadliest predator spread faster than any signal Velithra's empire had ever sent. Transmission beams carried footage of humans restraining a creature capable of leveling entire cities, of their clever traps, and of the audacious way they treated the beast not with fear, but as a challenge to be solved. Velithra hovered above her council chamber, antennae twitching nervously. The reactions across the quadrant were immediate and dramatic. Several allied species sent urgent inquiries. How did humans survive such a creature? What weapons did they use? Are they naturally immune to such predators? Each question reflected panic, disbelief, and a dawning understanding. Humans were not to be underestimated. Her generals paced, their multi-jointed limbs clattering against the metallic floor. Queen, this is impossible. No species should treat a predator of this magnitude as though it were livestock. It is unnatural. They will pay for their hubris. Velithra's mandibles clicked sharply. No, she said. They will not pay. That is the problem. Observe carefully and you may understand. Humans are not reckless. They are extraordinary. Their actions today show a species that adapts, learns, and dominates fear itself. They are unpredictable, and that makes them dangerous. Meanwhile, on Nova Prime, the human colony was already moving on. They had cleaned and stored portions of the beast for consumption and research, but their minds were not on rest. Scouts returned from reconnaissance missions, reporting the presence of smaller predators, resource opportunities, and terrain hazards. Engineers repaired equipment, recalibrated energy devices, and constructed temporary shelters. Soldiers maintained watch, their movements precise and disciplined, yet casual, as if danger was just another challenge to overcome rather than an existential threat. Velithra's eyes narrowed as she observed. She could see that humans did not simply react to danger. They shaped it, molded it, and turned it into opportunity. Where her species would have approached the predator with terror or overwhelming force, humans used intellect, teamwork, and courage to achieve control. And in doing so, they had not only survived, they had thrived. In the surrounding star systems, word of the humans' audacity spread quickly. Merchants whispered about the footage, militaries analyzed the strategies, and scholars debated the implications. Entire species began to rethink their assumptions about humanity. The alien queen's empire, long considered one of the most disciplined and dominant in the quadrant, began to tremble, not from physical threat, but from the realization that humans were capable of rewriting the rules of engagement. Velithra convened an emergency council. Her advisors assembled around a holographic table, their faces tense and unreadable. "We have underestimated humanity," she began. "This is not a species to be measured by physical strength alone. They are clever, coordinated, and fearless. Their audacity is matched by their intelligence. Any encounter with them cannot be predicted with standard tactics." One general, his voice trembling, asked, "But Queen, how do we defend against beings who treat death and danger as mere obstacles? How do we face creatures who laugh in the face of extinction?" Velithra's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "We do not face them as we face others. They are a force unlike any other. Our traditional strategies will fail. To survive, we must understand them, learn from them, and prepare for what comes next. Because if they encounter our fleets, our worlds, or our predators, they will conquer them as easily as they conquered the beast of Nova Prime." Back on the planet, the humans were unaware of the fear their actions had caused in distant civilizations. They celebrated the day's victories quietly, sharing stories of clever traps, daring maneuvers, and the teamwork that had brought down the predator. Children laughed nearby, pointing at the restrained creature and mimicking its movements. Scientists and engineers studied the beast's physiology, collecting samples and testing energy devices to measure strength, reflexes, and resistance. Soldiers analyzed the battle tactics, noting what had worked, what could be improved, and what they might face in the future. Velithra watched in a mixture of horror and admiration. The humans' courage was matched only by their ingenuity. They did not fight for glory or conquest. They fought because it was necessary, because they were curious, and because they refused to be intimidated. Every action was calculated yet bold, every movement precise yet fearless. The queen realized something that chilled her more than any predator ever could. Humans were not constrained by fear in the way other species were. They understood danger, respected it, but refused to let it dictate their actions. Where others would hesitate, retreat, or die, humans advanced. They innovated, they adapted, and they thrived. Word of the humans' victory reached nearby colonies, prompting unexpected reactions. Some species attempted to replicate the human methods, setting traps and studying predators, only to fail miserably. The humans' combination of intuition, intelligence, and daring could not be duplicated. They were not merely lucky, they were extraordinary. Velithra's council debated the next course of action. Should we contain them? One general asked. Strike before their audacity spreads? The queen shook her massive head. No, that is exactly what we cannot do. They are unpredictable. Any direct confrontation could turn into disaster. Observe. Learn. The human strength is in their mind, their courage, and their unity. Underestimating them would be fatal. Do not attempt to control them through fear or force. They do not respond as others do. On Nova Prime, humans continued their work. They dissected the predator for study, documented its behavior, and planned simulations for future encounters. Each task was approached with methodical care, yet excitement simmered beneath their disciplined exterior. They spoke of the predator not as a threat, but as a challenge they had conquered. The very act of overcoming fear had brought them joy, a simple yet profound celebration of life and mastery. Velithra's antennas twitched in reflection. She had seen fear in every species she had encountered. She had seen courage, cunning, and strength. But never had she seen a species confront death with such calm confidence, such joy, and such intelligence. Humans did not merely survive, they elevated survival into an art form. In the darkness of space, the Queen's advisors grew anxious. How do we defend against beings who face annihilation and turn it into triumph? How do we predict their next move? Velithra's eyes gleamed. We do not predict, we prepare, we observe, we understand. Humans are a force of nature. They are small, yes, but their spirit is vast. Every encounter with them will teach us something new, and we must be ready for what comes next. The human celebration was interrupted by a scout returning from the mountains. The message was simple but urgent. Smaller predators were approaching the colony, drawn by the commotion. Soldiers immediately organized defensive positions, engineers readied energy devices, and scouts set traps. Yet even in the face of a new threat, there was no panic. The humans adapted, analyzed, and implemented strategies with precision. They had faced a creature of unimaginable power and survived. Now they treated these lesser threats with the same level of discipline and courage. Velithra observed with fascination. The humans' ability to remain composed, even after facing near-certain death, was unlike anything her empire had encountered. Their coordination, creativity, and unwavering courage were a lesson in efficiency and survival. The predator of Nova Prime had been only the beginning, a test of their spirit and skill. As the new predators approached, humans met them not with fear, but with innovation. Traps were triggered, energy nets immobilized attackers, and teams coordinated strikes to subdue them quickly. Engineers used devices to analyze weaknesses, while soldiers struck with precision. Even children watched, learning and imitating the humans' methods. The predator had been a teacher, and the humans had absorbed every lesson, turning it into actionable knowledge. The queen leaned back, her mandibles clicking thoughtfully. She had underestimated humanity, and that underestimation could cost her species dearly. They were not just survivors, they were masters of adaptation, fearless in the face of terror, and capable of turning chaos into opportunity. Every encounter they survived elevated their skill, their unity, and their confidence. Across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. Other species debated the humans' capabilities, fearful of the unknown. Scholars speculated on their ingenuity, militaries prepared contingency plans, and traders hesitated, unsure how to interact with beings so unpredictable. Velithra knew the truth. Humans were not to be measured by conventional standards. Their strength lay in their mind, their courage, and their unity, and any attempt to control or predict them would likely fail. Back on Nova Prime, the humans finished defending their colony. The smaller predators were neutralized with minimal casualties. The humans celebrated briefly, but their focus remained sharp. They studied the terrain, analyzed the threats, and prepared for the next challenge. Every moment was a lesson, every encounter a test, every success a step toward mastery. Velithra realized that humans did not fight merely to survive. They fought to understand, to learn, and to grow stronger. Their courage was infectious, their intelligence unmatched in its practical application, and their unity unbreakable. They were not merely species. They were a force, capable of redefining the rules of life, survival, and conflict. The Queen withdrew to her ship's observation deck, recording every detail. She knew that the galaxy would soon recognize what she had discovered. Humans were no ordinary beings. They were extraordinary, unpredictable, and unstoppable in ways that no predator, no weapon, and no empire could fully comprehend. As darkness fell over Nova Prime, the colony stood resilient. The humans had faced the deadliest predator, defended against subsequent threats, and emerged stronger, more united, and more confident. Velithra watched silently, her antennas trembling. The humans had shown the galaxy that fear could be mastered, danger could be tamed, and life could be transformed through courage, intelligence, and unity. And somewhere deep within her, the Queen understood a chilling truth. Humanity's rise had only begun. Their mastery of fear, their ingenuity, and their audacity would ripple across the galaxy. Any who underestimated them would learn, often too late, that humans were not merely survivors. They were champions of their own destiny. The twin suns of Nova Prime rose slowly, casting long golden rays across the jagged mountains and deep valleys of the human colony. The air was filled with the crisp scent of the early morning and the faint smoke from the previous day's fires. Velithra's ship descended quietly, cloaked in stealth technology, so that the humans below would not sense her presence. She wanted to see them directly, without the mediation of surveillance drones, without the distortion of video feeds. She wanted to understand fully why this species had turned terror into triumph with such ease. As she approached the colony, the Queen's eyes swept over the human structures. Shelters, energy generators, and defensive posts had been constructed with precision, blending seamlessly with the rugged terrain. Everywhere she looked, she saw evidence of organization, efficiency, and forward planning. The humans were preparing not just for survival, but for mastery of their environment. Her antennas twitched with both curiosity and unease. She had underestimated them before, and she could not afford to do so again. On the ground, humans moved with calm determination. Soldiers patrolled in pairs, scanning the horizon, yet their movements were relaxed. Engineers adjusted equipment, checked energy levels, and prepared devices for possible encounters with predators or environmental hazards. Scouts returned from reconnaissance missions, reporting the presence of wildlife, resources, and terrain challenges. Children ran between the adults, learning, observing, and practicing small tasks under careful supervision. The humans treated the entire colony like a living, breathing organism, each individual a part of its pulse. Velithra's eyes focused on the central clearing, where the remains of the massive predator were displayed. It had been subdued, studied, and partially processed for sustenance. The humans moved around it with methodical care, measuring, documenting, and discussing strategies. To Velithra, it was astonishing. No species she had observed would approach such a creature in this way. They would fear it, flee from it, or attempt to destroy it outright. Yet humans had faced the impossible, mastered it, and used it to enhance their knowledge and resources. The Queen's advisors whispered nervously beside her. "They are fearless. They treat death and danger as mere challenges. How do we contain beings like this?" Velithra's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Contain? No, that is exactly what we cannot do. These humans are not like other species. They are unpredictable, intelligent, and daring. They do not respond to fear or threat the way others do. To confront them directly would be unwise." Suddenly, a human scout spotted something unusual. A smaller predator lurking at the edge of the valley had survived the previous day's chaos. Soldiers moved quickly, but there was no panic. They analyzed the predator's movements, calculated its speed and weight, and prepared precise energy nets to restrain it. Engineers adjusted devices to emit pulses designed to immobilize without harming, and other humans coordinated to block potential escape routes. Velithra leaned closer. She watched as the humans executed their plan flawlessly. The predator lunged, but it was guided into the traps without escaping. One soldier approached with a device that emitted a soft hum, and the predator froze mid-motion. Another climbed a nearby rock to ensure no other threats approached. Every movement was calculated, precise, and deliberate. Even when the creature struggled violently, the humans adapted instantly, maintaining control without losing composure. The queen felt a shiver of realization. This was not just skill, it was instinct honed by courage, intelligence, and experience. Humans did not merely survive danger, they transformed it into an opportunity to learn, to grow, to triumph. And each success, each carefully executed maneuver, strengthened their confidence and mastery over the environment. In the central clearing, a group of humans knelt beside the massive predator's remains, discussing strategy and recording data. They spoke in tones of curiosity and excitement, not of fear or horror. The children observed quietly, taking notes and asking questions. The humans were creating knowledge from danger, building strength from fear, and turning chaos into order. Velithra's antennas twitched furiously. She had seen many species dominate weaker beings or conquer smaller predators, but never with such intelligence, unity, and joy. Humans treated every encounter as a test, not just of survival, but of their ingenuity and courage. Their audacity was breathtaking, terrifying, and inspiring all at once. Suddenly, a human engineer raised a device toward the sky. A beam of light shot into the clouds, scanning the atmosphere for anomalies, predators, and threats. Soldiers adjusted their positions around the clearing, maintaining defensive formations, while remaining calm and alert. Another group carried supplies toward the edge of the colony, preparing for potential expansion or evacuation if necessary. Every action was precise, coordinated, and deliberate. Velithra realized, with a mixture of admiration and unease, that humans were not merely survivors. They were strategists, engineers, and warriors rolled into one species. Their strength was not in brute force alone. It was in their mind, their courage, and their unity. They had turned the impossible into routine, danger into knowledge, and terror into triumph. The queen decided to descend further, cloaking her vessel's energy signature to avoid detection. She wanted to see them up close, to witness their interactions firsthand. As her ship touched down quietly at the edge of the colony, she could hear the humans' voices, their laughter, and the careful coordination of tasks. They spoke not only to each other, but also to the predators, to the devices, and to the environment itself, as if commanding the very elements around them. Velithra stepped out of her vessel, observing the humans directly. Soldiers, engineers, and scouts moved with confidence and focus. They adjusted energy nets, recalibrated sensors, and guided predators away from the central area. Children watched carefully, imitating the adults' movements. Even the animals seemed aware of the humans' control, behaving cautiously around the devices and humans alike. The queen felt an unexpected emotion, something between awe and fear. Humanity was not just clever, they were extraordinary. Their spirit, intelligence, and unity gave them power beyond size, beyond numbers, beyond weapons. They had mastered a predator that would have destroyed any other species, and they had done so with calm precision, observation, and courage. One human soldier noticed an anomaly near the mountains, a faint shimmer that indicated another predator approaching. He signaled to the others, who immediately organized into defensive and offensive teams. Engineers adjusted energy devices, scouts relayed information, and soldiers prepared traps. Even in the face of imminent danger, there was no panic. Humans remained calm, calculated, and fearless. Velithra observed as the humans executed their plan. The approaching predator was guided into a series of nets and immobilizing devices, rendered powerless without a single casualty. Children watched, learning from the adults' expertise. Engineers recorded every detail, noting weaknesses, strengths, and patterns. Soldiers maintained control of the area, ensuring no surprise could threaten the colony. The queen's mind raced. Her empire had faced countless species, conquered dangerous planets, and dominated powerful predators. Yet humans, small, fragile, and seemingly insignificant, had achieved mastery over a creature that should have been unstoppable. Their combination of courage, intelligence, and unity created a force that could not be measured by conventional standards. She realized that humanity's strength was not in size, numbers, or weapons. It was in spirit. They faced danger, fear, and death with composure, intelligence, and adaptability. Every encounter strengthened them, every victory built their confidence, and every challenge revealed new potential. Humanity was a species that could redefine power in the galaxy. Velithra stepped closer to the humans, finally revealing herself. Soldiers and engineers froze momentarily, assessing the new presence, but their fear was minimal. They did not scream or flee. They studied her calmly, analyzing, calculating, preparing for potential outcomes. Their eyes, bright and determined, reflected courage without hesitation. The Queen realized that she had underestimated them yet again. Humans did not require intimidation to act. They required only clarity, observation, and a challenge to overcome. They had mastered what should have been impossible, not through dominance or fear, but through intelligence, coordination, and audacity. For the first time, Velithra felt true respect for a species that was, in every way, different from her own. These humans would not be conquered easily. Their ingenuity, unity, and courage would allow them to face predators, conquer challenges, and expand beyond their current limitations. The humans approached her cautiously, not with fear, but with curiosity. They analyzed her form, her weapons, her size, and her movements. One child stepped forward, reaching out a hand to touch a panel on her armor, mimicking the adult's careful approach. Velithra watched, fascinated. Even the youngest humans displayed observation, caution, and intelligence. The Queen spoke, her voice low and resonant. "I am Velithra, ruler of my empire. Your species has conquered the impossible. Tell me, why are you not afraid?" A soldier, calm and steady, replied, "Fear is for those who let it control them. We respect danger, but we do not let it stop us. Every challenge is a lesson, every victory is shared, every failure teaches us. That is why we are not afraid." Velithra's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. She had encountered many species who spoke of courage, but few truly embodied it. These humans did, and more than that, they combined it with intelligence, unity, and creativity. They were not reckless, they were extraordinary. She withdrew slowly, signaling to her advisors. "The galaxy must understand humanity. They are not a species to be feared lightly. Underestimate them, and you risk everything. Their courage is unmatched, their intelligence practical and lethal, and their unity unbreakable. Humanity has mastered what should have destroyed them, and they will only grow stronger." The humans returned to their work, undisturbed by her presence. They adjusted energy nets, analyzed the terrain, and continued to observe the remaining predators. Even in the shadow of the galaxy's most feared ruler, they acted with precision, composure, and quiet joy. Velithra left Nova Prime that day with a profound sense of respect and unease. Humanity was small, fragile, and seemingly insignificant in size, yet their courage, intelligence, and unity made them unstoppable in ways the galaxy had never seen. They had conquered death, tamed terror, and transformed danger into opportunity. For the first time, the alien queen understood that humans were not merely survivors. They were champions of their own destiny. And if the galaxy was unprepared for their rise, it would learn, often too late, that humanity's spirit could not be controlled, predicted, or defeated. Nova Prime became a testament to the power of humanity. From the conquered predator to the disciplined colony, everything they had accomplished stood as proof that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome even the most unimaginable threats. Velithra had witnessed it firsthand, and the galaxy would never forget it. As the sun set over the mountains, humans gathered once more. They shared their victories, analyzed their experiences, and planned for the challenges ahead. They did not boast, they did not fear, they did not hesitate. They had faced the impossible and emerged stronger, wiser, and more united than ever. Velithra's antennas twitched in reflection. Humanity was a force unlike any other, and the predator of Nova Prime had only revealed the beginning of their potential. Whatever the galaxy might throw at them next, humans would face it with courage, intelligence, and an unyielding spirit. They were not just survivors, they were champions of life, masters of fear, and architects of their own destiny. And somewhere, deep in the Queen's mind, she acknowledged a truth she could not ignore. Humanity had not just conquered a predator. They had conquered the impossible, and in doing so, had reshaped the way the galaxy would see them forever.